Eminem is one of the most ruthless individuals ever to pick up a mic. Over the years, he's left countless artists on the receiving end of scathing disses and personal vendettas that their careers never recover from. So today, we're going to be discussing some of Eminem's most craziest beefs. And by the end of the video, you'll see why it's not the wisest decision to go against the self-proclaimed rap god. It's your boy Louaista, and these are the many victims of Eminem. And to kick things off, we're looking at how he flipped the script on one of the most infamous rap crews from his own city. If you've been a fan of Eminem since the early 2000s, or at least gone back to revisit some of his older work while he was in his prime, you might have heard a line from the song Marshall Mathers from his MMLP album where he says,
"Slim Anus, you damn right Slim Anus, I don't get fucked in mine like you two little flaming fat."
Well, these lines, as well as tons of other sly disses scattered throughout his catalog, were directed towards a little known group by the name of ICP. Before Eminem was ever a major star in hip-hop, the Insane Clown Posse were the rappers who were initially putting on for the city of Detroit. Known for their signature face paint and loyal army of fans known as the Juggalos, ICP and their psychopathic records crew were ruling the city. While he was still on the come up, M tried to use a little of their shine for his own benefit. The only problem was that he didn't tell Shaggy 2 Dope or Violent J.
Eminem walked up and gave us a flyer, and it said special invited guests, and it had, you know, Esham, Kid Rock, ICP, and some others, and we were like,
question marks.
We were like, why is our name on this flyer? You know what I mean? Because
we never even heard of nothing.
We don't even know what this is, and our name's on the flyer, you know? And he was like, I'm not saying you guys are gonna be there, it says invited. And he's like, and I'm inviting you now. You guys wanna come?
To make things worse, they then found out that not only was M trying to use their name for clout, but that he had also dissed them on an upcoming track. So they felt like they had no choice but to retaliate.
One of the lyrics he said on there was, "Fuck ICP, buy my CD."
Woke up with my face painted, spaced out like sci-fi TV. Fuck ICP, buy my CD.
And we were like, dang, like he's gonna diss us like that? We had a radio show at the time, and we took his song, Slim Shady, and we did a remix of it and turned it into Slim Anus. And we just played it as a joke on our radio show, you know what I mean?
Recorded alongside fellow MC Twisted, the Slim A freestyle saw ICP pulling no punches and featured bars where they ripped Eminem a new one, with bars like,
"Hi kids, do you like this? I let Dr. Dre fill out my butt for a chance to be famous."
They then followed this up with more bars like this one.
"Wanna copy me and do exactly like I did? Yeah. Try Sid, get your butt pumped out like I did."
Understandably, being that Eminem came up off of battle rapping, the fact that this diss came directly from a group out of his hometown of Detroit, M wasn't all that happy about the release of the track. Although, he might have not even heard it if another radio station didn't play it to him during an interview. But at that point, the battle lines were drawn and things escalated beyond just rap.
He was like, we're gonna handle it on the streets, you know? And then everything just went bad from there, you know what I mean?
Okay, when you say went bad, did anything actually happen?
All kinds of shit happened between our camps.
Like what?
Like people getting into fights out on the streets,
like,
you know?
Nothing happened between me and him and actual fucking Eminem.
But your people and his people...
Yeah, he pulled a fucking empty pistol on one of our boys.
Wait, Eminem pulled an empty pistol
on one of our boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Over the years, tensions persisted, and as Eminem's platform got bigger, he controlled the narrative. As I said earlier, he was dissing them on his biggest album, the Marshall Mathers LP, an album that literally sold 1.7 million copies in its first week of releasing. Mind you, this was way before streaming was even a thing, and the only way to buy music was to literally purchase a physical copy. He would bring dolls on stage that represented ICP and make a mockery of them.
We got the Insane Clown Pussies here tonight for the very first time ever making their debut in a stadium this big. And what I'm here to tell you tonight, Worcester, is that it is all good between me and the Insane Clown Pussies. Fucking faggots.
Then, more stories like Eminem chasing ICP out of a club and shooting their van with a paintball gun began circulating. On top of that, he downplayed their hip-hop credentials by telling the Detroit Free Press that ICP isn't real, they're a mockery, they're not even rap. And even members from Eminem's group D12 claimed that the beef was quote-unquote very serious at one point.
How serious did it get?
It was serious, like on sight. If we see them, they see us. It's whatever. And I think they ran into Marshall at a car shop or some shit, like way back in the day. I forgot what happened, but Yeah, it was serious, man.
Left unable to really mess with M while he was at the peak of his powers, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope threw a few shots here and there, but the general belief was that Eminem emerged victorious. Now, they look back upon it as a ridiculous incident between two artists on the rise, and they have since put it behind them. The beef we had with him was 11 years ago. That's like beefing with somebody in high school and going to your 20th high school reunion and you still have heat with that kid. But after their respective teams escalated things, it was actually one of Eminem's most trusted friends and advisors who managed to bring things to a close in a surprising way.
When I remember Proof squashing the beef, he is so dope for coming over and squashing the beef, man. Rest in peace, Proof. Like, I was so happy to be, and honored to be included in that.
Yeah.
Because he was squashing M's beef with
Royce.
Big names.
Yeah, he was squashing his beef with Royce.
Because M was going around back then dropping crazy names, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
But and when he came to the office and shit, and then we went bowling and drinking.
You went bowling with M?
With D12.
Oh, with D12, so with the crew.
Against ICP.
Wow.
Yeah,
so that was
our crew, yeah.
That's dope.
Luckily for ICP, they always had their own dedicated following, which set them apart from the rest of hip-hop. So it's safe to say that their beef with M hasn't exactly defined them. However, there are some people who are looking at the rap pioneer Melly Mel a little differently after he attempted to step into the ring with M, only to literally embarrass himself in the process. You might have heard how Kendrick Lamar name-dropped Melly Mel in his infamous verse on Like That, where he said, well, the person he was referring to is Grandmaster Melly Mel, which is the lead rapper and songwriter of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, which was a 1970s New York hip-hop collective. Melly Mel is regarded as one of the most respected men in hip-hop, as he was one of the first people to really show that rap can convey a message. As a result, he's always been well regarded by both the hip-hop media and the rappers that have followed in his footsteps. But after he was listed at number 48 on Rolling Stone's list of greatest MCs, Melly Mel took exception to Shady's position at number 5 and sounded off about how it wasn't a deserved placement.
Obviously, he's a capable rapper. If you was talking about sales, he sold more than everybody. If you're talking about rhyme style, okay, he got a rhyme style. But he's white. He's white. So now if Eminem was just another nigga like all the rest of us, would he be top 5 on that list when a nigga that can rhyme just as good as him is 35? That had records and all that. He's 35. He's white.
From there, he went on to say that Eminem's success just all came down to his skin tone, not his skill.
Anybody could be as mad as they could feel how they want to feel. If they don't think that race plays a part in the equation of how great he is. I heard one of the dudes that's down with him, Royce the 6'9", I heard he's just as good as Eminem. Why ain't he as big as Eminem? Because he black. Ain't none of that shit hard to figure out. Eminem gets a top spot because he's white.
Adamant that M didn't deserve the acclaim he receives, Melly Mel kept doubling down, and it actually turned out that the muscle-bound rapper has had some strong feelings about Shady way before that list. Because during an interview on Vlad TV from a few years prior, he claimed that he could beat M in a battle without even trying.
Easy. It would be the easiest thing I ever did. When people bring that up, just say you can't beat Eminem. Just say that. But I've been doing this all my life, and I don't even write like I used to write. This is my destiny. Like my mechanics and my dynamics and my knowledge of what rap is all about. It supersedes anything that goes on out there.
Unfortunately for Melly Mel, he was about to eat those words, and a whole lot of abuse came with it. It all started when M jumped on the Filipino rapper Easy Mill's track, Realist. After initially ignoring Mel's claims, Shady decided to throw a couple bars in his direction. He said the following lines: "Shout out to Furious 5 and Grandmaster Flash, but boy, there's someone who really is furious. Stay out his path, his wrath."
Avoid, and not be the last to toy with a juice that whose brain is like half destroyed, like a meteor hit it. Well, then with Melly Mel, we lost his asteroids.
Suddenly, Melly Mel had the chance to prove that it really was his destiny to outshine Eminem. But instead, he proceeded to drop one of the worst diss tracks of all time with the song Kickback. And boy, did he get clowned for it. Gotta give it to Melly Mel. He was so prepared that he recorded an Eminem diss track in 1985 just in case. This sounds like the kind of rap dare officers do when they try to get kids to stay off drugs. After this diss dropped, his claims that he could easily dismantle M were nothing more than a distant memory. And to save face, he issued an apology online. writing, "It's important to acknowledge the dynamics of hip-hop have evolved over distinct eras, and it is inevitable that not everyone will resonate with my perspective, just as I may not fully comprehend others. Throughout my involvement in shaping the hip-hop landscape, the cornerstone has been built upon a foundation of mutual respect, even when personal preferences may differ." After all that yapping, he even thanked Eminem for mentioning him in his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech. But even though he tried to walk it back, some people felt that the legend had left a stain on his legacy. Yo, this apology is longer than the diss track. Imagine being a pioneer of hip-hop and letting your ego tarnish your legacy. For the former Furious 5 member, Eminem being viewed as greater than him was a problem for a while, and by the looks of it, he's now willing to drop the whole thing. But the same cannot be said for our next victim on the list, who's arguably more obsessed with Eminem than some of his most fanatical stans. I'm of course talking about Lord Jamar. Jamar made his name in hip-hop as part of the group Brand Nubian, a conscious rap crew from the 90s who were all about politically charged lyrics and black empowerment. From the outset, Jamar has always seen himself as a gatekeeper of the culture. So for him, the concept of a white guy from Detroit like Eminem being recognized as one of the GOATs just couldn't fly. And during his many interviews on Vlad TV, he's made it clear that Eminem lives in his brain rent-free. At one point, he even tracked an old picture of Eminem wearing a Will Smith mask, arguing that it should be enough for him to be kicked out of the genre once and for all.
You basically said was blackface.
Well, it's kind of like a blackface. It's a mockery of black people. Like a white dude wearing any kind of black mask is problematic and should be explained. I just wanted to know what the whole context was. Could it be explained? I know at the time, you know, a lot of people in hip hop, black people might have looked at Will Smith as kind of corny and like very straight-laced type of hip hop, but that's for us to do. You see what I'm saying? You crossed the line that maybe one of us could have did, but you as a white guy can't do that.
Over the years, Jamar just kept coming at Shady, all the while maintaining that M and every other white rapper was a, quote, guest in the house of hip-hop.
Just like in Eminem, we had a lot of people talking about, is Eminem a guest in the house of hip hop? You motherfucking right he is. Just because he sold the most records and all of that, like, I fucks with Eminem, you know, as a lyricist and all of that, but it's like, we are in America, okay, where the majority of the people are white.
After a while, Shady couldn't stand it anymore, and on the diss-filled record Kamikaze from 2018, Eminem dedicated a few bars on the track Fall to let the former Brand Nubian MC know what he thought about him. In a song where he dissed everyone from Tyler the Creator, Charlamagne the God, and Joe Budden, Eminem specifically called out Jamar with bars like, "And as far as Lord Jamar, you better leave me the hell alone," or "I'll show you an Elvis clone. Walk up in this house you own, brush my pelvic bone, you should tell a phone, and go fetch me the remote. Put my feet up and just make myself at home. I belong here, clown." But it didn't stop there. During a live show in Dubai, Eminem decided to take another jab at his enemy.
I had a dream that I was a fucking nobody who sucked at rap. Oh, really? And then I woke up. And you know who I was, Mr. Porter? Who are you? Lord Jamar.
After that, he upped the intensity of his insults and made them more personal. Because on the track I Will from 2020's Music to Be Murdered By, he called out Lord Jamar's skills into question and suggested he wasn't the legend he thought he was. "I'm more than you bargained for, and I am far more worse than a 40-some Lord Jamar verse. I never was, been claiming rap when it's not yours. If it was anyone's house, G-Rap and Rakim would be having you mop floors. Run DMC would be having you cleaning sinks. Yeah, your group was off the chain, but you were the weakest link." That was cold. In response, Lord Jamar returned to the Vlad TV couch as he always does, but he still acted like he wasn't bothered even in the slightest.
I know what this bitch ass said, okay? And what? I'm still unscathed. Guess what? Motherfuckers still ain't listening to that in the hood. Nobody came to me in the hood and was like, yo, I just heard this Eminem song where he went at you. No, they gotta read about it on media takeout and shit like that. Because again, my point is proven, nobody listens to your fucking shit. So I'm chilling right now.
But by the looks of it, everyone thought Jamar was pressed about the whole situation. Lord Jamar, no one listens to Eminem. Lord Jamar sings every verse on Stepdad, says I'm chill while literally twitching and raising his voice. You can tell his blood is boiling. But even though he clearly got in his feelings, there was a brief moment where Jamar actually thought he had the upper hand. as in an interview with King Crooked, Eminem basically accepted his status as a man who would never fully be accepted by certain sections of the hip-hop listenership based on his skin color.
How do you feel about the concept of white rappers being a guest in the house of hip-hop?
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing. I don't know if I've got a chance to say this yet, but the funny shit is, like, with the whole beef of a certain person.
Right.
I never said I wasn't a guest.
Right.
I'm absolutely a guest. Like, I never said I wasn't.
Right.
And within days, Jamar was celebrating this like it was a historic victory. I guess his ego wouldn't allow him to say, Lord Jamar was right the whole time and I was bugging for coming at him the way I did. My bad, I am a guest in the house of hip hop. But even though M made that concession, this still hasn't been enough for Jamar to put the whole thing behind him. Because ultimately, his relevancy is now tied to the hatred of Eminem. So every time he drops again, Jamar reemerges and continues to lose his mind about Shady's continued success and the GOAT status that some people apply to him.
I don't listen to Eminem. I don't. As a black man, that's not what I listen to. When it comes on, when Eminem comes on, I change the channel. He puts words together, but the way his voice sounds bothers the fuck out of me. I can't listen to him. That's just personal shit. Because again, we decide who's our GOATs. It's not about record sales with us. You know what I mean? It's about who we feel the most. You know what I mean? Like, we make this decision.
In Lord Jamar's case, it seems like he'll never be able to fully let go of his animosity towards M, even if he never really has a reason to feel away in the first place. But the same can't be said for the Outsidaz, who had grounds to take issue with some of Shady's behavior towards them. But before we talk about why the Outsidaz had smoke with Eminem, let's talk about today's sponsor, and that's Fume. You might have heard that flavored air is quickly becoming one of the main alternatives to vaping and smoking. It's a whole new movement towards better habits, and today's sponsor Fume is leading the charge in that. This is Fume, and it honestly looks like a vape, but it's not. It doesn't have any nicotine, it's not addictive, and this right here is not a battery, so there's like literally no electricity at all. Basically, Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that draws rich flavors to your mouth and is designed to help calm anxiety while filling the void left when you ditch a bad habit. So let me show you how it works. Once you got your Fume device out of your box that's neatly packed, all you gotta do is pull this thing out like that, and then you're gonna see a little slot right here, and that's where your flavored air is gonna go. Now, Fume was kind enough to hook me up with all these unique ass flavors, and I mean, just look at them. They just look so good. Raspberry lemon is what I'm gonna go to for my Fume device. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, then so they give you 3 per pack. Look at that, 3 of these little things right here. They look kind of tasty, honestly. We're gonna insert one of them into this. All right, then you're gonna open it up like that, and you're just gonna slide it in, so easy. And then you're gonna twist it like that, and you're gonna hear a snap. Now that we got the flavor in the device, we're gonna inhale our Fume device. Let's do it. Oh, damn. Wow, that tastes actually bomb. I'm not gonna even lie, that tastes so good. Seriously, it actually tastes so good that I kind of wish it was like a candy or something. So as you can see, there's no vapor, nothing comes out of my mouth. There's literally no smoke, nothing. It's basically just flavored air. Raspberry lemon is honestly bomb. I'm gonna take another hit, I just love it. It tastes so good. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, you can grab a free topper by using my code Louaista. This handy accessory is perfect for your Fume device, adding a softer, warmer touch to the mouthpiece. Plus, it's chewable for those who like to fidget, and it's reusable as well. Visit tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and enter code Louaista, or simply scan the QR code that you're seeing on the screen to get your free Fume topper with your journey pack today. Now let's get back into the video and talk about the Outsidaz and their beef with Eminem. In case you're not familiar, the Outsidaz are a legendary New Jersey crew, helmed by Young Z and Pace One. The crew also features rappers like Raw Digga, Slang Ton, and at one point, Eminem himself. Basically, M spent some time with the group where they helped him hone in on his talents, and Shady even resided in the famous outhouse with them. Over time, the underground legends have been open about the role they played in providing early guidance to Shady when he was still a little rough around the edges.
When I was fucking with Eminem, he was basically, first of all, he was just a little fat white kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
I started working with him. He was rhyming, of course, but you know, when he came to Jersey and stayed at my house, we started perfecting his skill. So basically, I birthed his new skill.
But this wasn't just some kind of transactional relationship. they were actually friends. In fact, Raw Digga recalled that they had even gone to war for him on several occasions.
It was tough, you know, being a white boy, trying to go into these New York scenes and rhyme, and the outsiders were there holding him down. Like, I know a few occasions where, you know, folks had to jump in fights and you know, on his behalf.
Oh, so he was getting into fights with people.
And, well, what M would do is, like, you know, he'd stage dive, he would just do things and, you know, quirky white boy stuff, and, you know, sometimes it went over well, sometimes it didn't, and, you know, he had the outsiders there to back him up.
Initially introduced through Bizarre of D12, M repped the crew for a while, and even shouted them out on tracks with bars like this on the song As the World Churns.
Outsiders, baby, and we suing the courts, cause we dope as fuck and only get it tuned in the source, yeah.
Despite their role in his early development, the crew disappeared from Shady's circle once he signed with Dre. And according to Pace One, he and Young Z were supposed to have a feature on Amityville from the critically acclaimed The Marshall Mathers LP. However, they ended up getting removed in favor of Bizarre. With that, feelings were hurt, and soon, diss tracks like Pace One's rap music surfaced, alongside scathing comments and interviews. Left on the sidelines, Pace clearly felt a lot of bitterness about putting Eminem on, only to get kicked to the curb.
I ain't gonna front, I had a couple diss songs about Eminem. Eminem used to be in my crew, you know what I mean? I used to run around with him. Yo, overcoming not running around with him, it's like going from the major leagues back to AAA baseball. It's a little tough, but you know what I mean? I made the transition. I'm still running, I'm still trying to be the best.
He wasn't the only member of the crew to snap on Eminem either, because over the years, another Outsiders member by the name of As Is has maintained that Shady stole his flow, and has also released diss tracks like What Can I Say, where he spit,
"You slept with your adopted sis Kim and had a child and sucked your Uncle Ronnie's dick with a smile."
He even followed this up with lines like this right after.
"You trailer park hoe, you been a fed, you been a marshal. I know your lieutenant, motherfucker. I am your corporal."
Then it was Twitter fingers. He went on X to rant after he felt like he was left out of Eminem's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech. To the stands, at Dr. Dre wasn't around during the struggle. When a mofo is as fake as this clown, you can't take your foot off his neck. The most ungrateful rapper to ever touch a mic, at Eminem. How you shout out 100 MCs who did nothing for you in your Hall of Fame speech, but not me in slang. But not everyone in the crew shares this scornful view of Eminem, as in the eyes of Young Z, people like As Is are delusional and just trying to build a name for themselves off his connection to the crew.
He says stuff about M that's totally not true. How he used to hang out at my house with M. I don't even know what he's talking about. He met M through M coming out to chill and work on music, and in the process he met M. He wasn't the reason we met him or nobody else. He must think Eminem owe him something. He don't owe him nothing. He exaggerated his role in the group, and he has no right to jump on M for whatever reasons he think M stole his style. That's a total lie.
Another reason why Z has defended Shady is that in his opinion, Eminem did right by him.
I don't feel that way because he put me on mad shit. As Is never did a tour with Eminem. I did like 8 tours. He put me on an 8 Mile soundtrack, D12. I made millions of dollars with Eminem. Literally millions of dollars. He don't owe me nothing else. I don't owe him nothing. We just two people that rhyme, that know each other, that, you know, we respect good rapping. That's it. He don't owe me nothing. I don't owe him nothing. We did whatever we did for each other out of the love of hip hop and the love of each other. You know what I mean?
Despite several members of the crew coming at him, it's noteworthy that M never fired back. Instead, he acknowledged that maybe he could have done more for them on the track Fine Line from 2014, where he said, "Put 1,000 lighters in the sky for the Outsiders. Wow, I must have had Alzheimer's. Long time since I shouted them out. About time. Cause it's been on my mind lately how Z, you always supported me. You vouched, I will never forget that. And how you guys accepted me in Pace. I love you too. You slept on my couch. And I've been thinking about the time when I slept on the floor at the outhouse. Since that olive branch was extended, even Pace has considered a truce. If Dre and Eazy-E could squash their beef, we all should be able to settle our disagreements with each other. At Eminem, life is too short." For the Outsiders, their issues came from feeling like Shady abandoned them when an opportunity opportunity came along. But in Limp Bizkit's case, it was an act of disloyalty on their part that brought them into a world of hurt. Back in the day, when the new metal band were ruling the world, the Interscope signees were friendly with M. They were even seen in studios together, recording a track for Limp Bizkit's record, Significant Other.
Do I gotta rap?
Supposed to be a race car driver.
You know what? Hey, listen, it's been real. I'm gonna go be a race car driver.
Ultimately, the song didn't make the cut and only surfaced years later online, but that wasn't what started the beef. Instead, the whole thing stemmed from their involvement in a different feud. Back when he just began reaching the mainstream, M had smoke for Everlast, the former House of Pain MC who went on to a solo career. What you might not know is that Limp Bizkit's DJ Lethal used to be in House of Pain too, and this is where the issues between M and Limp Bizkit began, as soon he would put them on blast on his track Girls, which is arguably one of the most savage diss tracks of all time. He had lines like this:
I'm doing this song with method, to begging to get accepted. I'm pegging Fred with the bottle of dye that he bleached his head with.
And even had more words for Lethal with lines like this:
And as for Lethal, don't forget what I said. I'm fucking you up, punk. You're dead. Don't think that I'm playing.
He then ended the song by saying,
Biscuit, cause I know you're saying D12, only not to our face, under your breath, to yourself.
If you haven't given the song a listen, trust me, do it. I couldn't imagine if something like this dropped in today's era of social media. But why did he do it in the first place? Well, it all happened after they backed out of doing what they said they would by standing with him in the feud with Everlast.
The reason that I dissed Limp Bizkit is because they're little girls. The reason that I dissed them is because when all the beef with Everlast was going on, right, they wanted to jump in the middle of it. They wanted to jump in it with me and take my side, right? And they wanted to do a song with me. Everlast did a song dissing me, then I dissed him back, then he dissed me back again. So I was gonna diss him back again one final time, so I was telling them about it. They wanted to get on the song. Fred Durst is like, yeah, man, write me some shit, bro, I can say that shit. And then DJ Lethal, I hate Everlast, man, he comes over, he steals my weed, like all this shit, right?
M took them at their word and set up a studio session, but Durst pulled out for an alleged toothache, while DJ Lethal had second thoughts about destroying his relationship with Everlast once and for all, after previously acting like he was on his side. As you could imagine, M didn't respect this one bit, and it soured their relationship.
That's a little girl. That's a Girl Scout right there. So that's not what pissed me off. I'm like, okay, my opinion of them lowered, but I was like, all right, I'll do the song anyways. Still said their names in my raps and used them against Everlast. So then, like, not even 2 weeks later, these are on MTV talking about, they asked Lethal about the Everlast thing. Lethal said, I think personally that M is a good rapper, but I think that in a fight, Everlast will whip his ass. Now come on, dog. For real, what the is that? Now you tell me what you would do. What would you do in a situation like that?
After the warning shot, Limp Bizkit did the smart thing and never opened their mouths about Eminem ever again. And in a Reddit AMA, Fred Durst suggested that he isn't angry at M. Instead, he seems saddened by it more than anything else. I haven't heard anything about Eminem since he turned on Limp Bizkit. I don't speak much about it, but it really hurt my feelings at the time, because I thought we were better friends than I suppose we were. Durst continued, saying, I understand why he was upset, mainly with Lethal, but over time, I've learned there are better ways to deal with things that upset us. I have remained a loyal fan of his, and choose to remember the good times we shared. He is definitely one of the very few best rappers of all time. This has been consistent every time it's come up, and by the looks of it, Fred just wanted his friend back.
Hey, used to be my homie. I haven't talked to him since he turned on me.
Oh, really? What happened?
I don't know, but I still love him. Love his town. I like him as a person.
Would you be willing to do a new track with him?
Dude, I got mad love for him. He remembers our time together. It's genuine. I don't know what all that other shit was.
Unfortunately for Fred and Lethal, they learned the hard way that once you cross M, there's no way of going back. While in the case of our next victim, he made the similarly stupid decision to open his mouth and mention M only to lose any respect he had from young audiences in the process. Back in the early 2000s, Moby was a superstar producer and his album Play was a major hit. As a man who had a great love for hip hop, he could have just kept his opinion to himself, considering he knew that once he provoked a rapper, there'd probably be consequences to it. Instead, he said the following statement about Eminem. He's very good at what he does and he's very clever, but he's also a homophobe, a racist, and a misogynist, and I find that objectionable. I think apart from his misogyny and homophobia, he's an amazing talented rapper, and it's amazing to me that he's had such a long and successful career. So kudos to him. Unsurprisingly, Eminem didn't plan to go down without a fight, and on the Eminem shows Without Me, he not only impersonated him in the video, but claimed Moby's career was basically over.
Moby, you can get stomped by Obi. You 36-year-old boy that fag blow me. You don't know me, you're too old, let go, it's over. Nobody listen to techno.
Dissed by one of the best rappers in the world, Moby had the wrong kind of publicity, but he just kept making things worse for himself.
I thought this was really funny, but he clearly did not. As I was doing an MTV interview and the journalist asked me, like, why does Eminem have such an issue with you? And I said, I don't know, maybe he's closeted and he just wants to make out with me. That might have been my equivalent of like pouring kerosene on the fire. So in his case, maybe he has a very good reason to not like me. But I thought I was just being funny, but clearly I'm not.
The feud then culminated at the 2002 VMAs, where after accepting an award, M has some words for Moby.
Keep going, little girl. I will hit a man with glasses.
Halfway through the ceremony, Moby remembered. He told me, "You're d," and gave me an unusual drawing. I kept the picture. I had it framed. He handed me a drawing of him strangling me, and it was a really great illustration. What was endearing was that on the backside of the paper, he had started drawing it and then decided it wasn't good enough. So he had a first draft on the other side and then the fully executed version on the other. Later down the line, Moby realized the whole thing had turned him into a punchline in certain parts of the world. For the longest time, no matter where I went, someone would yell out a car window, "Nobody listens to techno." So I would like to thank Marshall for introducing me to his legion of 13-year-old future Trump supporting fans. None of these people were running out to listen to my music, so it did in a negative way introduce me to a weird demographic of right-wing Americans who otherwise I would probably have no contact with. After all that was said and done, M backed off and later reflected on the VMAs as a low point in his life. All my life, I had been trained to react. My instinct was, if someone talks about you, you see them, you fight. But Moby? Really? I was going to fight Moby? And I was going to fight a puppet? In hindsight, I should have handled it differently. Now, all these years on, both men are sober and have stayed out of each other's way. However, that hasn't stopped Moby from trying to rewrite the story a little in interviews, like he didn't bring it on himself.
I have nothing against Eminem. I think he's really talented. I almost don't have an opinion about him. But he attacked me at an MTV Music Awards like 20 years ago. And the next day, I was listening to Howard Stern, and Howard Stern said exactly what you said. It's like, who wants to pick on Moby? You know, it's like picking on like the weak kid who doesn't know how to tie his shoelaces.
Despite these attempts from him to retell history from his own perspective, most people aren't buying it. And some even feel that M made him more relevant than he would ever be. Eminem is the only reason I even know who Moby is. Dude called Eminem misogynistic, homophobic, and anti-Semitic, and is sitting there claiming that he was attacked. However, when it comes to Eminem's victims, it would be insane to not mention The Game. While Eminem hasn't taken many shots at The Game has been extremely vocal when it comes to Eminem. However, what's crazy is that these two proteges of Dr. Dre were never really on bad terms. They even have a banger hit song together called We Ain't from The Game's classic album, The Documentary. The Game was even willing to still give Eminem his flowers in the midst of his feud with G-Unit, which, as you guys may know, has 50 Cent as the leader. And 50 Cent was brought into the rap industry by Eminem basically, as he was the one who signed him.
Eminem is Eminem. If you notice in hip-hop, Eminem is the only rapper that nobody ever wants a problem with, including myself, man. Eminem is like the most lyrically insane. Even when I was going at 50 and, you know, me and Dre wasn't seeing eye to eye, man, I stayed away from the white dude.
Now, if you know anything about The Game, you'll know that it's not really uncommon for him to be involved with beef. This man has beef with everyone, from the man who signed him, Dr. Dre, to other rappers like Meek Mill, Kanye West, Joe Budden, Chris Brown, among others. And clips like this interview from 16 years ago really make him seem like an absolute hypocrite.
I don't f with niggas, I don't battle niggas, I don't beef with niggas, I don't start shit. Unless I hear my name or unless a nigga calling me out, then I'm coming.
So back to his beef with Eminem. Where did that come from? Well, believe it or not, the game really started coming at Eminem's neck after he was left off of the lineup for the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show. This was a pretty big deal for the game, not because he was simply left off, but it actually goes a lot deeper. For one, the lineup included mostly West Coast legends such as Kendrick Lamar, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg. This made the game feel like he was supposed to be there, as many would lump him into the category as a West Coast legend, nonetheless a Compton legend. Dr. Dre signed the game early on, and the game was also one of the first people who showed Kendrick Lamar to a broader audience when he featured him on the track The City. What made matters worse was that the lineup also included 50 Cent and Eminem, two artists who do not rep the West Coast. It seemed like a complete backstab to the game, and for some reason, he felt like this was all some devious plan that they set up beforehand, just as a way to disrespect him. When, in actuality, the Super Bowl was probably trying to cater to more mainstream-like artists from LA. And while 50 Cent and Eminem aren't necessarily from the West, they are deeply respected there due to their ties with Dre. After it went down, Game was clearly salty about Shady being there and him sitting at home as it went down in his home city.
We on the West Coast are the only that have this crab in a barrel mentality where we want to keep down. Snoop is an icon. Dre is an icon. M is an icon, but M is not from LA. 50 is not from LA, and I'm not taking away from the fact that they were on the Super Bowl, but LA have been on a Detroit Super Bowl or a New York Super Bowl. It just wouldn't have happened. LA, all around the Super Bowl, and I don't get the call. I was hurt by that.
Then, the whole tone of how the game responded to Eminem changed, and in an interview with the Drink Champs, he would go on to make a very bad decision. He claimed that not only was he a better rapper than Eminem, but that he would literally beat him in a versus battle.
Eminem is Eminem. I like Eminem. He's one of the fucking good MCs. He raps better. Man, I used to think Eminem was better than me. He's not. Challenge it. It's not drama. I want smoke with Eminem, him and him.
And after receiving a ton of backlash, you would think that he would backtrack his words. However, days later, he would go on to instead double down on his statement.
You know, and all that shit, I see it, I feel you. And you know what, if you feel like Eminem is better than me, that's your opinion. There's a lot of people that feel like I'm better than Eminem, and that's their opinion. Me personally, is Eminem better than me? Nah, he not, bro. And I think the best way to see if he is or if I am is, shit, nigga, let's rap about it. Let's get up, let's get in the studio, let's rap about it. Let's do something, let's put something out, let's see, because that's what this shit is, bro, it's rap.
And although these attempts didn't merit a response from Shady, the game would go on to diss Eminem multiple times after this, saying things like, no one plays Eminem songs in the club.
When have you ever heard an Eminem song in the club? When have you ever heard it in the locker room when they like, yo, this is the new M, I'm about to go crazy out here when they do this tip-off, nigga. So again, it must happen when they training for the Olympics or some shit, or when white boys are surfing, dude, or doing what the they doing. I don't hear Eminem in the streets. I just don't. Yeah. And so again, it's not saying that he can't rap. The skill set is there. I'm just a better rapper.
To much weirder stuff, like commenting on this post, talking about how Eminem's daughter Haley had glowed up. The result of that desire for smoke was a 10-minute diss track by the name of the Black Slim Shady, which he used as a way to promote his Drillmatic Heart vs. Mind album, which, by the way, would only go on to sell only 25,000 copies in its first week, but that's besides the point. What's weird about this diss track is that it really seemed like the game was praising M more than anything. I mean, the comments speak for themselves. Clearly, fans were confused by what the point was, and later down the line, he'd make it clear that he was just in his feelings. And since the altercation, the game has since admitted that he only dissed Eminem because he was upset with Dr. Dre.
And even on my last album, throwing shots at Eminem and beefing with Eminem, it was just me being upset with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre can't out-rap me, so I just went at M, just because that's just how I get sometimes. But it's always competitive. It ain't like I'm gonna see M and be like, what's up now? You know what I'm saying? And then M took his shots on a record that dropped, and M is a funny guy.
A man that's literally 44 years old saying, that's how I get sometimes, is pretty wicked. And after all that effort from the game, M only needed a couple bars to put his former Aftermath artist back in his place on the song The Realest.
And that is the only retort, is I'm not played in the clubs. Mother put a cork in it, only reason they still play your shit in the clubs is cause you still perform in them.
And these days, like many of the victims that are on this list, the game is now giving Eminem his praise at a moment's notice.
Eminem is undoubtedly one of the greatest rappers ever, for obvious reasons.
Pretty hilarious. But if you guys want to hear more of Eminem's beefs, you can click on the video on the screen.